My friends, happy Tuesday to everyone. I've been a bit sick these past few days with the flu, but thank God I'm getting better. I couldn't even look at the computer, honestly. Anyway, let's get to the topic because something very interesting is happening inside the Detroit Lions organization right now, and it is becoming clearer as OTA activities continue to unfold. While many fans focus only on the biggest headlines, some of the most important developments are happening quietly behind the scenes, and they could have a major impact on the Lions as the team prepares for the upcoming season. One of the biggest names drawing attention is Jared Goff, not because there are concerns about his talent or his production, but because of the responsibility he carries as the leader of the offense. During these OTA sessions, the focus is not on physical contact or game day intensity. Instead, it is about command, communication, and execution. Goff is responsible for making sure every piece of the offense operates smoothly. He has to understand where every player belongs, how the playbook is being implemented, and how quickly the entire unit adapts to the system. The encouraging part is that there is confidence that Goff will adjust quickly. Much of the offensive structure remains familiar, even if some terminology changes. The real question is not whether Goff can handle it, but how efficiently the offense can function under his direction. Fans should be watching how smoothly drives are organized, how quickly players line up, and whether the offense appears comfortable executing its assignments. Those small details often reveal far more than statistics during this time of year. Another situation worth monitoring involves offensive lineman Ben Bartch. He may not be the biggest name on the roster, but his availability matters. The Lions have already dealt with injuries, including losing Kendrick Law for the season, and the last thing this team wants is additional uncertainty along the offensive line. Depth matters, especially during a long NFL season. That is why players such as Ben Bartch, Christian Mahogany, Juice Scruggs, and Miles Frazier become important topics of discussion. There are still questions about how certain positions may ultimately shake out, and having healthy players available to compete can make a significant difference. For Detroit, entering training camp with a healthy offensive line is far more valuable than spending another summer waiting for injury updates. At the same time, attention is turning towards second-year wide receiver Isaac Taslaya. This may be one of the most fascinating storylines developing during the offseason. According to the information coming from the team, Taslaya spent significant time working on specific areas of his game. Separation, acceleration off the line of scrimmage, route running, and expanding his understanding of the route tree were major points of emphasis. Why does that matter? Because the Lions need another weapon capable of helping open up the offense. When the receiver room functions at a high level, it creates opportunities for everyone. It helps create space for Amon-Ra St. Brown. It benefits Jameson Williams. It creates more opportunities for Jahmyr Gibbs. It allows other receivers to contribute as well. The expectation is not simply for Tesla to be effective in the red zone. The challenge is much bigger than that. Can he become a reliable contributor on first down? Can he create opportunities in the middle of the field? Can he help move the chains consistently? Those are the questions Detroit fans should be asking. The investment made to acquire him raised expectations. When multiple draft picks are involved in bringing in a player, the organization naturally hopes for meaningful production. Everything suggests that Taslaya approached this offseason with serious focus and determination. Now the next step is proving that the work translates onto the field. Another player generating conversation is quarterback Luke Altmyer. Despite entering the league as an undrafted player, he has reportedly received praise from both Dan Campbell and offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. That alone makes him worth watching. The most intriguing aspect of Altmyer's situation is the competition behind Jared Goff. Teddy Bridgewater remains a respected veteran presence, but Altmyer represents something different. He offers youth, mobility, and long-term potential. If he continues to develop and impress coaches, there could eventually be a real discussion about his place on the depth chart. For Detroit, developing a young quarterback carries obvious benefits. It provides depth at a lower cost and potentially creates stability behind Goff for years to come. Nobody is suggesting drastic changes are imminent, but OTA performances often plant the seeds for future opportunities. Defensively, rookie Jimmy Rolder is another player worth monitoring closely. Early reports indicated he made an interception during OTA work and received positive feedback. For a rookie trying to establish himself, every practice matters. The Lions do not necessarily need him to become a starter immediately, but they do need young defenders who can learn quickly and provide valuable depth as the season progresses. The speed at which rookies absorb information often determines how quickly coaches trust them with larger larger responsibilities. That makes every practice rep important. The Lions are looking for players who can grow into meaningful contributors, and Rolder has an opportunity to show he belongs in that conversation. As these OTA sessions continue, a clear theme is emerging. The Lions are not simply evaluating star players, they are examining depth, development, health, and future potential across the entire roster. Those details may not generate the biggest headlines today, but they often become the difference between a good season and a great one when meaningful football arrives later in the year. And with several young players already drawing attention for different reasons, the biggest question now becomes this: which of these developing storylines will turn into the most important one once training camp officially begins? The conversation about important OTA developments does not stop there, because several other players on the roster are quietly entering crucial moments in their Detroit careers. Some are fighting for larger roles, some are trying to prove they belong, and others are simply trying to stay healthy long enough to finally show what they can do on the field. One player who falls into that category is Ennis Rakestraw. At this point, the biggest thing the Lions need from him is actually very simple: availability. Talent has never been the primary concern. The problem has been staying on the field consistently enough to make an impact. Right now, Rakestraw sits behind other players on the depth chart at the nickel position, and that reality creates pressure. The unfortunate truth is that fans have not been able to see much from him because injuries have continuously interrupted his progress. Every time momentum seems possible, something gets in the way. That is why these OTA sessions are so important for him. This is not necessarily about interceptions or highlight plays. It is about proving he can participate consistently without setbacks. Sometimes the biggest victory for a young player is simply being available day after day. If Rakestraw can accomplish that, he gives himself an opportunity to re-enter conversations about future defensive contributions. Right now, nobody is handing him anything. He has to earn every bit of confidence back through practice and consistency. Another intriguing development involves Christian Ezien. His situation has become especially interesting because he is spending time working at safety due to injuries affecting the position group. Normally known as a cornerback, Ezien is being asked to expand his responsibilities and potentially provide versatility for the defense. This creates a fascinating evaluation period for Detroit's coaching staff. Being a capable cornerback does not automatically guarantee success at safety. The responsibilities are different. The angles are different. The reads are different. The communication requirements can also change dramatically. Because of the uncertainty surrounding injuries involving both Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, every rep at safety becomes valuable. The Lions need answers. They need to know who can provide depth if necessary. They need to know which players can be trusted in multiple roles. That is why Ezien becomes one of the more overlooked but important players to watch. If he performs well, he increases his value significantly. Versatility is one of the most valuable traits a player can possess in today's NFL, and this is an opportunity for him to demonstrate exactly that. Then there is second-year edge defender Ahmed Hassanein, a player who has largely flown under the radar. While many discussions focus on established contributors, Hassanein has reportedly spent significant time transforming his body. Added muscle mass and physical development have become noticeable talking points. For a pass rusher, physical growth matters. Strength helps at the point of attack. It helps against the run. It helps create leverage opportunities against offensive tackles. Most importantly, it can help a young player make the kind of second-year leap that every organization hopes to see. The Lions need additional pass rushing help throughout the rotation. They need players capable of supporting the depth behind the more established names on the defensive front. Last season did not provide many opportunities for Hassanein to make an impact, but circumstances have changed. He now enters a season where development becomes a priority and where coaches want to see tangible progress. If the work he put in during the offseason translates onto the field, he could become one of the more pleasant surprises of training camp and preseason. On the offensive side of the ball, Greg Dortch is another player drawing attention for good reason. With Kendrick Law lost for the season, opportunities naturally become available elsewhere. Dortch could find himself carrying increased responsibility, particularly in the return game. What makes this situation especially interesting is the comparison many fans are already making. Detroit benefited tremendously from Khalif Raymond's versatility over the years. His speed, quickness, and ability to contribute in multiple phases of the game made him valuable. Now attention turns to whether Dortch can provide a similar type of impact. The excitement comes from his explosiveness. He has speed. He has experience. He already has familiarity with offensive coordinator John Morton from previous stops. That existing relationship could help accelerate his transition and integration into the offense. The Lions are not necessarily asking him to become a superstar. They simply need him to maximize opportunities when the ball is in his hands. If he can consistently create positive plays on offense while contributing as a return specialist, he could become a very important piece of this football team. Finally, one of the most intriguing names discussed throughout OTA observations is rookie safety Dan Jackson. His story is particularly compelling because injuries prevented fans and coaches from getting a meaningful look at him previously. As a result, there are still many unanswered questions surrounding what he can potentially become. That uncertainty creates opportunity. The safety room currently contains several question marks. Injuries have affected important players. Recovery timelines remain topics of discussion. Depth remains an area where young players can potentially make a name for themselves. Jackson now enters a period where every practice can help change perceptions. Every positive rep can build confidence from coaches. Every improvement can move him one step closer to earning a meaningful role. The Lions do not necessarily need him to become an immediate starter. What they need is reliable depth and players capable of stepping in when called upon. Those are the types of players who often emerge during off-season programs and quietly become important contributors months later. When you look at all 10 players discussed throughout these OTA observations, a pattern becomes clear. This is not just about stars. It is about development. It is about depth. It is about health. It is about identifying which young players are ready to take the next step and which veterans are prepared to solidify their roles. The Lions already possess a talented roster, but championship caliber teams are built on more than star power alone. They are built on players emerging unexpectedly, young contributors accelerating their development, and depth pieces becoming trusted options when opportunities arise. As training camp approaches, the answers to many of these questions will start becoming clearer. Some players will exceed expectations. Others may struggle to gain traction. But right now, the most exciting part is that the competition is only beginning, and several names that are not dominating headlines today could end up becoming major stories before the regular season arrives. What makes these OTA storylines particularly important is that they reveal where the Lions believe competition still exists on the roster. When a coaching staff spends time evaluating players